Hello, and thank you for stopping by. Today I'm going to tell you my makeup story. I'm going to talk about when, how, why I started using makeup, my struggles, my preferences, how they changed, and how my purchasing habits changed over time. Let's get started. Once upon a time, there was a little girl growing up in Bulgaria. I can't point to a single moment when I got into makeup. Makeup has always been something that has fascinated me. I've always found it beautiful, and I think I've always been aware of its ability to transform. My mum isn't someone who wears a lot of makeup. Basically, all she wears is some dark eyeliner in the outer corners of the eyes and some brick red or brown lipstick, and that's it. So growing up, I didn't have a lot of influence from my mum, and I don't have any memories sneaking into my parents' bedroom and playing with makeup at my mum's vanity. I don't even know if she had a vanity, or taking stuff out of her makeup bag and playing with it. And I definitely wasn't allowed to play with makeup, but I knew that I loved it. To continue with my story, I need to give you a little bit of a history lesson. I promise it's not long. So when I was 6 or 7 years old, the political regime in Bulgaria changed from a communist regime to a democratic regime. And essentially what that means is that while I was growing up, Bulgaria was in a state of political turmoil, and that affected ordinary people economically. And I come from an ordinary family. So unless you were part of the communist elite, which miraculously is still alive and well today, that means that you suffered economically. It means that we didn't have much disposable income. And as a child and a teenager, I definitely didn't have disposable income. And that lasted well into my high school years. But for the most part, that was fine by me because in the first couple of years of high school, I definitely wasn't interested in makeup, although I do remember wearing mascara. It's just that when I was 14, 15 years old, I wore my hair short, I wore baggy clothes, I didn't wear dresses or skirts, and I think that was my subconscious protest against the establishment. Popular culture in Bulgaria, back when I was growing up, as well as now, even more than before, postulates that in order for girls to be important and worthy of attention, they need to be not only pretty, but also sexy. And at 14, 15, I definitely didn't feel ready to feel sexy. And I resented that. And I didn't wear makeup and I didn't wear dresses. And I didn't want to be appreciated for my outward appearance only. And I didn't want to conform to that standard. But at 16 or 17, this started to change gradually. And I don't know if I got brainwashed or if I just started discovering my femininity, but I started taking more interest in the way that I look and I started considering makeup. And that's when my struggles began because I definitely didn't have the self-confidence to wear makeup. I remember one time lining my whole eyes with black eyeliner, finding out that I looked like some kind of wild animal and deciding, well, that's not for me. I also remember buying my first red lip gloss from L'Oreal with money that I had saved from snacks. And at the time, makeup wasn't sold in pharmacies or drugstores the way it's sold in the Western world. Basically, you went to a store, so I couldn't just walk around and try on stuff. And I came home with my prized purchase. I tried it on and it looked horrible on me. I really hated it. It looked so much better on my friend. I love you. But I couldn't give it to her because I'd bought it and that was all the makeup I'd be getting for the foreseeable future, so I had to make do. And I don't remember what happened to that lip gloss actually. I definitely wasn't wearing foundation, and wasn't interested in wearing foundation at the time because I had good skin. So all my attention when it came to makeup was directed at eye looks and lip colors. I didn't know what a highlighter is. I don't think it was a thing back then. And by the way, back then, I didn't have access to the internet, and it was still a very new thing, but I definitely didn't have access to resources that could help me learn about makeup. So after a couple of unsuccessful experiments, I settled into a routine that was very similar to my mum's routine. Basically some eyeliner in the outer corner of the eyes, a lip color and mascara. And that was it for a very long time. The first time I wore a full face of makeup was at my senior prom. In Bulgaria, we actually only have senior prom, which takes place after you graduate high school. So before my senior prom, my mum took me to our local esthetician/makeup artist, and she picked out a few products for me. I remember they were by the brand Lumine. And that was the first time I had a base product. I think it was some kind of a CC cream or something like that. And the first time I had a blusher. I was 19 at the time. Fast forward a bit, after my third year in uni, I won a scholarship and I went to Japan for the first time. I was there for a year, then went back to Bulgaria to finish my bachelor's degree, and then won another scholarship and went back to Japan for my master's degree and stayed on for 5 years. Going to Japan, which has an enormous beauty market, from Bulgaria, where many things weren't available at the time and many beauty brands were not represented, was such an experience for me. It actually ended up being quite frustrating for me because for most of the time I was a student in Japan. I didn't have a very big budget. So I mostly stuck with what I knew, which were mostly brands like Bourjois or L'Oreal. And I only started experimenting a bit later on when I was already working in Japan. And I started purchasing some high-end products. But I must say I regret not exploring the Japanese brands more. I do remember having a very, very, very pale face powder that I wore. I think I bought it from L'Occitane, and I don't know why I was wearing it. And when I look at pictures from that period, I just can't help but wonder why I was wearing that. It made me look like a corpse. And although I wasn't buying a lot of makeup while I was living in Japan, I still have some items in my collection that date back to that period. My period of peak makeup purchasing started after I had gone back to Bulgaria. I was working for an international company. I was independent, so I started buying makeup. At the time, there was already Sephora in Bulgaria. Many makeup brands were becoming available, and it was also becoming easier and easier to shop online from abroad. So I bought my first eyeshadow palette in 2014. It's the Naked 3 palette by Urban Decay. I don't remember the thought process that made me buy that palette specifically, but I do remember that I was looking at YouTube videos at the time. So YouTube definitely taught me everything that I know about makeup, but it also made me buy things. And I was buying and buying things because I wanted to build my collection, because I wanted to try new things, because I thought I should have this and this and that in my makeup drawers. And this is how I ended up with the makeup that I currently own. And don't get me wrong, I don't regret buying that makeup. And thinking about makeup and using makeup and choosing what makeup to wear and applying makeup has brought me so much joy, and it's definitely something that I consider to add value to my life. But looking back, I wish I wasn't in such a hurry to build up my collection, and I wish that I had employed more judiciousness into buying what I bought. So now, where are we now? Now I want to keep the joy and the excitement and the spirit of adventure and exploration and creativity and self-discovery that makeup brings into my life, but without the constant buying or thinking about buying, without the obsessiveness. So I think my little project and this channel are going to help me do that. And how about you? What is your makeup story? Anything you care to share? Please do so in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me on this trip down memory lane. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy wearing your makeup. Enjoy living your life.